Frost, one of the only remaining cryomancers, is a character from the Mortal Kombat universe. In both timelines of the games, Frost is shown to be highly ambitious and arrogant. She always believes that her abilities surpass any of her adversaries and goes into a fit of rage when she realizes that someone surpasses her in strength. She is always shown to be impulsive and rash. Her need to be acknowledged, along with a matching antipathy towards everyone she considers to be more powerful than her, including her own teacher, overshadows her commitment to fighting, learning, and becoming a noble warrior. The majority of her character's defects seems to be motivated by emotions of ineptitude and envy. Frost initially appears to be on the side of good, but her hunger for attention leads her to turn on Subzero and join the forces of evil. Join us as we dwell deep into her lore and talk about her personality, powers, and abilities. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you, and let's begin. The story arc of Frost in the Mortal Kombat timeline. We are first introduced to the character of Frost when the deadly alliance between the two deceitful sorcerers Quan Chi and Shang Tsung was forming, and their dominion was about to create its foundation. It was at this time that Kuai Liang, also known as Subzero, finally overcame all the obstacles presented in front of him, and through sheer perseverance and determination, defeated Sector and acquired the Dragon Medallion. This increased his powers to levels he never imagined, and in doing so, he became the new Grand Master of the Lin Kuei clan of assassins. Rid of all the corrupted ways and exterminating Sector's inimical impact on the clan, Subzero brought about many positively influential changes to the Lin Kuei. He even transferred the Lin Kuei headquarters to an isolated area in the Arctic where the clan members could train and study freely without any outside interference or upheaval. Kuai Liang planned to prepare his forces to fight for good and not allow his clan to become pawns for evil warlords or malevolent deities any longer. During this time, Subzero held a tournament along his fellow Lin Kuei to see the results of his training in action and find out which combatants out of all his clan members show the most potent capability of becoming a great warrior. Frost's skill set and her use of her cryomantic abilities impressed Subzero, but it was clear to him that she needed much help to be disciplined and control her emotions. Ignoring how it would conflict with Lin Kuei traditions, Kuai Liang took it upon himself to teach Frost the ways of being a noble warrior. He recruited Frost as his pupil, and through his training, Frost became an even more capable warrior than before. She learned how to control and concentrate her cryomantic powers better, but as her abilities increased, so did her superiority complex. The two most essential traits Subzero failed to impart to Frost were nobility and humility. Frost's training regime was inadvertently interrupted when Raiden arrived to seek counsel with Subzero. The Thunder God was seeking Kuai Liang's aid in defending Earthrealm against a new threat that had crept up. The deadly alliance between Shang Tsung and Quan Chi. Agreeing to fight alongside Raiden, Subzero decided it would be best for Frost to come along with him so that she could gain some battle experience and further learn from him. He wished for her to gain some insight and understanding of what it means to be a noble Lin Kuei warrior. Before traveling to Outworld alongside Raiden and his allies, Subzero and Frost met the other defenders of Earthrealm, whose assistance Raiden had enlisted. One of them was Sonya Blade, who heavily disliked Frost upon their initial interaction. A highly disciplined soldier and a snobby worked-up assassin were never going to be on good terms anyway. After this encounter, the team, including Subzero and Frost, made their way into Outworld, where they would carry out their plans to stop the deadly alliance. But Frost had some different schemes brewing in the background. Once she found her opportunity, Frost showed why she truly agreed to accompany Subzero to Outworld. She wanted to overthrow Subzero and become the new Grand Master of the Lin Kuei, as she saw him as a weakling who was extremely merciful and lacked the spine to make difficult decisions. To do this, she attacked Subzero when he was least expecting and made it impossible for him to move using her powers. After immobilizing him, she approached his chest and snatched the Dragon Medallion away from him. Unaware of the powers that the artifact possessed, Frost was unable to control the overwhelming effects of the medallion. Considering it only to be a symbol of leadership, Frost was not ready to wield the Dragon Medallion at all. With the medallion in her possession, her body was unable to control her powers, and the overwhelming burst of ice consumed her. Now frozen in her own cryomantic powers, Subzero considered Frost to be dead. Even though it was Frost who betrayed Kuai Liang, he took the blame upon himself as he saw it as his failure to impart values to his pupil, which led to her eventual death. He forgave her for her rash and impulsive deceit and proceeded to search for a discernible place to bury her body. During his search, Sub-Zero came across a structure which was in ruins but seemed holy upon closer inspection. His careful examination of this ancient temple led to the conclusion that it was built by the long-lost race of cryomancers that Sub-Zero and Frost were descendants of. Believing it to be an honorable place to bury a former ally, Sub-Zero departed ways with Frost after keeping her body in a stone coffin for her to rest eternally. It was later revealed in Mortal Kombat Deception that Frost was not actually dead, and instead, due to the sudden outburst of power, she just went into a comatose state. She somehow survived and later awakened in the ancient ruins, realizing that she was still in Outworld. She concluded that Sub-Zero had left her there to perish alone. Considering this to be an insult of massive proportions, she vowed to get her revenge by killing him. In search of the Lin Kuei Grandmaster, Frost made her way to the Lin Kuei headquarters, but then she learned that Sub-Zero was still in Outworld. Unable to exact her revenge, Frost went mad. She became delirious, and her thirst for Kuai Liang's blood drove her to a point of insanity. In this state, Frost started seeing hallucinations of Sub-Zero surrounding her everywhere she went. In this fit of rage, Frost killed many of the Lin Kuei warriors that were present at the palace. After Sub-Zero's return from Outworld, he was shocked to see that so many of his men were so mercilessly killed. Taking matters into his own hands, Sub-Zero fought Frost one-on-one. He successfully defeated his former protege and proceeded to freeze her completely. Later, he kept Frost's frozen body in the chamber of the fallen Lin Kuei and froze the entrance with a massive ice wall. His plan was never to kill Frost. Instead, he wanted to find a cure for her madness and decided to keep her in stasis until he could fix her. His plan seemed to follow through until on a fateful day, during the events of Armageddon, Taven stumbled upon her frozen coffin and revived her by freeing her from it. Frost, who was still in a demented state, saw Taven as Sub-Zero and attempted to murder him at first sight. The demigod was able to fend off Frost's attack, and upon realizing that she was not fighting Sub-Zero, Frost departed ways from the Lin Kuei Palace. She can later be seen during the Battle of Armageddon fighting alongside the forces of darkness. It is implied that she was successful in killing Sub-Zero during the massive battle, but like almost every other warrior present on the battlefield, Frost was also defeated and killed. As the timeline shifts back to the first Mortal Kombat tournament, Frost does not make an appearance until the events of the Mortal Kombat X comic series. She first appears as an undefeated warrior in a deathmatch fight club, pitted against Casey Cage. Frost seems thoroughly unimpressed by Cage, and she does not think much of her as a fighter. Frost was deemed unstoppable with a record of 21 wins and 0 losses under her belt, and an unbelievable 13 of those matches ending in a flawless victory in her favor. She completed all of her 21 fights with fatalities and was determined to do so with Casey as well, whom she saw as an upstart rookie. As the fight between the two starts, it is clear that Frost is the aggressor, and she dominates most of the fight. With Cage being the submissive one in the bout, Frost prepares herself to finish the fight early by ending it with one lethal blow, but to her dismay, Cage hits her with a headbutt and knocks her down. Cage then uses her intense martial arts training to put Frost in a submission hold, which later knocks her out. Triumphant, Cage stands over a defeated Frost. While the announcer forces her to kill her to end the fight, despite Casey's reluctance, she agrees because her close friend Jackie Briggs is being held at gunpoint, and if she refused, Jackie would be killed. While Casey was setting her foot on Frost's throat to end her life, the Black Dragon entered the arena and created chaos. Amidst the chaos, Cage and Briggs drags Frost's unconscious body to safety, and with the arrival of the Special Forces, the two were able to save Frost's life. Sometime later, upon Frost's recovery, she is approached by the Thunder God Raiden. He informs her of a particular tournament that is taking place, being held by the Lin Kuei, organized by a fellow cryomancer, Kuai Liang, also known as Sub-Zero. Following Raiden's guidance, Frost makes her way to the Lin Kuei Temple in Arctica, where she finds Kuai Liang meditating in front of a Buddhist statue. As she was attempting to greet Sub-Zero from behind, she suddenly tripped onto her back, which astonished her. Displeased at how easy it was for Kuai Liang to subdue her, it was clear to Frost that she had to become stronger. She proceeded to explain her unannounced arrival to Sub-Zero and informed him that it was Raiden who guided her to participate in the small tournament that was being held. Upon seeing all the other combatants arrive as well, Kuai Liang allows the fighters to rest and eventually participate in the tournament, including Frost. Sometime later during the events of Mortal Kombat X, we see Frost during the meetup of two fellow Grandmasters from rival clans, Kuai Liang and Hanzo Hasashi, also known as Subzero of the Lin Kuei and Scorpion of the Shirai Ryu, respectively. Disgusted by the sight of two rival clans attempting to make peace, Frost ambushes Hasashi out of her own accord and disobeys Liang. She states how there will be no peace between the Shirai Ryu and the Lin Kuei before being subdued by Hanzo. This starts a minor confrontation between the two Grandmasters, but it is stopped when Liang protects Hasashi from a sneak attack by Frost. Liang is then able to talk Hanzo down and explain how he genuinely wants peace. Frost acted out of impulse. He explains to Hanzo how Frost is his pupil, and even though she is an excellent warrior, she lacks discipline and does not possess the judgment to see the wisdom of peace. After this, the two Grandmasters continue their conversation, and Frost is left frozen in the background. We are not graced by any further appearances from Frost after this interaction until the events of Mortal Kombat 11. Kronika's merger of two timelines in search of her perfection was the reason that she decided to approach Frost. She sought Frost's service in defending her hourglass, while she made her the head of the Cyber Lin Kuei in return. The Keeper of Time also bestowed upon Frost a cyberized and enhanced body that she used to fight against the forces of good. Frost is first seen alongside Kronika, garbed in a hooded cloak that hides her identity. During this time, Kronika is explaining her plan to eradicate the Thunder God Raiden from existence itself. Kronika talks about how she requires Shao Kahn and his forces' assistance in defending her keep, and in exchange, he would become Outworld's emperor once more, and in Kronika's new era, his empire will prosper. Post this conversation, sometime before Frost makes her way to the Cyber Lin Kuei production factory, she finds the time to find Sector and inform him of the looming threat that the union between the Grandmasters of the two clans Lin Kuei and Shirai Ryu possesses. We next see Frost during the covert infiltration mission being carried out by Kuai Liang and Hanzo Hasashi of the Cyber Lin Kuei production factory. She enters the facility alongside a cyberized Cyrax who is time displaced into their world. Following their plan to subdue and turn Cyrax by allowing him to access his emotions, Liang and Hasashi freeze Frost in place and fight Cyrax to destroy his behavior inhibitors without killing him. Upon defrosting, she attacks the two Grandmasters but is soon defeated, and the two proceed with their plan to turn Cyrax. Frost is then seen during the final battle where she attempts to defend Kronika's keep from the ensuing siege from various different armies, under union by the efforts of Raiden and his allies. During the massive battle, Frost confronts Raiden and makes a fool of him for having ignored her during her entire existence, and informs him that she is in charge of the Cyber Lin Kuei as she controls their every move. In response, the Thunder God short-circuits Frost's body, which in turn affects all of the cyborgs surrounding them, eventually rendering the surviving cyborgs inactive. During the aftermath that followed after Fire God Liu Kang's glorious triumph over the Keeper of Time, Kronika, Frost makes an appearance alongside Garrus as she approaches the Titaness in the past to inform her of the sudden reappearance of Fujin, Shang Tsung, and Nightwolf, all of whom were supposed to be stuck in the void for eternity. Hearing this, Kronika sends Frost and Garrus accompanied by a few Cyber Lin Kuei to investigate and pursue the perpetrators. Upon finally confronting the trio, Frost engages Nightwolf. The shaman pleads with her to join the good side and fight for what is right, but in true Frost fashion, she instantly refuses and eventually loses to Nightwolf in a battle. Post this defeat, Frost is not seen anywhere during the final battle at Kronika's Keep.
Who's your heir apparent?
If only you'd been more patient, Frost.
Like I'm patiently waiting to kill you?
Fight!
Exploring the personality and appearance of this mysterious warrior. In the original timeline, even though Frost was shown to be a very snobby and selfish character, she was initially still dedicated to Subzero and the Lin Kuei. She respected Kuai Liang as her master in the beginning, but she eventually succumbed to her mental instability and was very conceited about her abilities. These were the two major causes that finally drove her to attempt to remove Subzero as the Lin Kuei's Grand Master and replace his position by force. When she followed through with her plan in Outworld, it failed miserably and her entire plan backfired as it resulted in her body being frozen due to her own powers. She was later exiled following these events while Sub-Zero thought she was dead. Upon reawakening, her rogue mentality made her conclude that Kuai Liang had left her to die in Outworld, and she considered it a betrayal. Her mindset is exceptionally flawed because she does not see the error in her ways. Instead, she blames Liang for for everything. Her impulsive, abrasive, and selfish behavior is portrayed perfectly in this sequence of events. Returning from her exile did not do any favors for Frost. Her insanity reached new heights, and her hatred for Subzero drove her to perform absurd actions. She single-handedly killed a plethora of Lin Kuei warriors after she arrived at the palace only because she thought they were Subzero. She also fought the demigod Taven exclusively because of this madness, even after he inadvertently was the reason for her freedom. In the current timeline, we initially see Frost as a combatant in some underground fighting corporation. Just like the original timeline, Frost possesses immense talent and potential that she can simply dust off any fighter that is not highly trained to be extremely efficient in their art form. This is evident when the announcer reveals that Frost has an astonishing undefeated record, but the announcer also allows us to gain insight into one of her significant flaws. He ecstatically announces how Frost has mercilessly ended all of those fights with fatalities. This meant that she was ruthless and did not care much for other people's lives. Unlike Cassie Cage, who won her fight against Frost but was reluctant to end her life even though she did not know her personally. Despite her strength and ability to fight, Frost lacks morality. She cannot understand the wisdom of peace, as Kuai Liang pointed out. She is tenacious, self-assured, ambitious, and combative, which contributes to her weakness more than her strength. Her haughtiness and anger against everyone she believes to be superior to her overwhelms her commitment to learning and gaining battle experience. She is an extremely capable individual with extraordinary powers, but her capabilities and potential are only surpassed by her brash arrogance and desire, which lead to her downfall. Even after Subzero took Frost under his wing so that she could learn the values of peace and gain enlightenment on how important maintaining one's morality and humanity is, Frost's complicated, traumatic upbringing as an orphan in unknown ghettos prevailed as she got accustomed to fighting for herself for everything and using force to fulfill her needs and complete her goals. Although her troubled life made her extremely tough, courageous, and bold, the negatives are far worse than the positives, and Kuai Liang failed to impart any disciplinary values to Frost. This failure of a mentor drove Frost to make the decisions that ended with her fighting for what was wrong in her thirst for more power. Why does Frost hate Subzero? In the original timeline, Frost was initially taken under Subzero's wing so she could learn to harness her powers better and control her anger. Kuai Liang tried to impart morality and humility to Frost, but he was unable to do so. Over time, Frost started seeing Subzero as a weakling and stopped respecting him as her mentor. Her desire to become stronger and climb the ladder of hierarchy overshadowed Subzero's teachings, and eventually, Frost attempted to backstab him in hopes of replacing him as Lin Kuei's new Grandmaster. Her plan backfired, and she presumably died due to an outburst of her own powers, or so Subzero thought. After he paid his respects and buried Frost's body in the ancient ruins of the lost city of the Cryomancers in Outworld, Frost regained consciousness and astonishingly reawakened. She realized the situation she was in and blamed all of it on Subzero. Frost believed that her former mentor had left her to die and rot in that wretched place, and swore revenge. Her thirst for revenge also drove her insane, and she constantly grew to detest Kuai Liang more and more. Succumbing to her insanity, Frost started seeing Subzero in every person she encountered. Her delusion led her to kill a bunch of Lin Kuei members whom she thought to be Subzero himself. Eventually, Subzero overcame her and put her in stasis until he could find a cure for her madness. Even after escaping her supposed captivity at the hands of Taven, Frost's hatred and insanity focused towards Subzero did not waver even a bit. In a fit of rage, Frost attacked Taven thinking he was Kuai Liang, which led to her eventual defeat at the hands of the demigod. In the current timeline, most of what made Frost a brash upstart warrior remains the same. She still possesses immense potential, but is overshadowed by her rash and impulsive behavior. She is still shown to be incapable of making good decisions and does not believe in peace. She lacks morality and humanity, which is shown in her interaction with Hanzo Hasashi and her own Grandmaster during the former's visit to the Lin Kuei Temple. Her impulsive actions, however, are the reason for Hanzo to believe that what Subzero had spoken about earlier was all true. In turn, Frost attacking Scorpion made the alliance between the two Grandmasters even stronger. After being employed by Kronika against the forces of good, Frost was exclusively intent on killing Subzero and raising an army of Cyber Lin Kuei warriors. Even though she gained a new cyberized body as a blessing from Kronika, Frost was still unable to defeat Subzero and was eventually defeated by Raid. Towards the end, she lost control of her cyborg armies and failed to complete her mission of killing Kuai Liang. How to unlock Frost in Mortal Kombat 11. After years of waiting, fans were finally given a chance to play as Frost in the most satisfying way. In the newest Mortal Kombat game, NetherRealm Studios decided to make Frost a playable character, and her moveset is exceptionally pleasing and thrilling. Although Frost is not available from the get-go, you can unlock her by playing the story campaign. In order to make her playable, the player has to reach Chapter 4 of the campaign titled Fire and Ice. You will get 4 instances where you have to choose between picking Subzero and Scorpion to fight your adversary. The player has to select Subzero in all 4 instances to unlock Frost. Once you have completed this simple requirement, you will be able to choose Frost during the character select screen. If you have already played through the story entirely, do not worry, as you will simply have to play these 4 matches again by choosing Subzero, and you will be able to unlock Frost relatively easily. What makes Frost so powerful? Frost was a human from Earthrealm, and it was thought that she was a member of the long-extinct Cryomancer race. She was schooled to better utilize Kori talents and had a natural aptitude to control ice as a Cryomancer. Despite her youth, her cryomancy skills were believed to be quite skilled. Frost has exceptionally strong cryomantic abilities, however they are by no means comparable to those of Subzero. She can increase her range and the chance of hitting an enemy by freezing a significant portion of the ground in front of her, rather than depending solely on freezing the target directly. She also possesses the ability to teleport away from the opponent and resurface behind them to deliver an uppercut while also sliding into the opponent to knock them down. Finally, she can make 2 tiny daggers out of pure concentrated ice that she employs in combat thanks to her freezing abilities. Overall, Frost may not be as strong as her mentor, but her incredible speed and more aggressive fighting style more than make up for it. After turning into a cyborg in Mortal Kombat 11, Frost has a variety of cybernetic enhancements and powers, including internalized freezing weaponry akin to her previous master's cyber form, and the ability to launch and even destroy her head like a bomb before replacing it with a new one.
There's very little I do, Snow Fox.
A fatal mistake, Cade.
Conclusion. Overall, Frost is one of those characters that has the potential to do a lot of good, but her judgment is always clouded by her thirst for power. It leaves us fans to wonder if Kuai Liang was successful in imparting the values of a noble warrior to Frost, then how it would have affected the storyline of the Mortal Kombat games. But even then, that would have changed the entire personality of Frost and her chaotic nature, which would not have sat right with us. As a minor antagonistic character, Frost fulfills her role of being a threat to the heroes very well, as she is a relatively formidable warrior. If you like our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone.